And now continuing with our file, which has got our caterpillar in our room, we've positioned it by using the root empty, we've scaled it using the root empty, and now we're going to start creating our animation. So first of all, we make sure we're on frame 1, and we're going to start in, obviously we're going to be in pose mode, and we're going to first of all press A to select all of the bones, press I and insert location rotation, which will set our first key point. Then move forward with using the right cursor key till you get onto frame 4. Now what we do is we right click just on the tail bone there, on the last bone, use the widgets or use G to grab. We're in a side view there. You can have a look at the 3D view when you want to check the position. And we're basically going to, what we're looking for here is the position halfway through the walk cycle, which is the wriggle cycle, if you like, of our caterpillar. And then once again, once we've got it into with the back raised as if it's halfway through the cycle, we press press A to select all the bones, press the I key and do insert location and rotation, and then you can use the cursor key to step back and forth to see how that looks. See that that's half of our walk cycle, if you like. Now, a useful feature of when you're doing poses like this is if you use the middle mouse button, click and drag the bar on the bottom, and you've got these buttons for copy the current pose to the buffer and paste from the buffer. There's also one for paste inverted or swapped. We don't want to worry about that at the moment. So we've now copied it to the buffer. If we go to the action editor, that's the one that's got this little symbol, which is sometimes called the shark attack, because it looks like a man who's been attacked by a shark. Don't ask me why. And there you'll see the names of our bones, and then you can see the keys. Those spots there are the keyframes. And you can move this window around as you can all the other windows, and we can see the green arrow there, the green line, sorry, is the timeline, and we can use our cursor keys to step through. What we want to do is we want to actually get a copy of the first keyframe of those bones, which is at position 1. We want that then at frame 7 to complete the action. So if you imagine, it starts off with the caterpillar flat, halfway through the walk cycle or crawl cycle the back is raised, and then we want it to go back again to being flat on the ground. So you move forward to 7. Remember we did the thing of copying the pose to the buffer. Well, we then paste it from the buffer, and then we can do an I key and again insert location rotation, and we've got exactly the same pose. Now that's a simple way of seeing something that you'll do a lot when you're actually doing more complex animation or non-linear animation. So if you just use your cursor key, you can step through and see that indeed that's what it does. We've got the frame now set onto 7, onto the last frame of 7 of the animation sequence. Now ultimately what we want to really do is have it so that we create a strip of animation. You'll see what we mean in a minute, but we can then use that simple animation block and repeat it, because like one step in a walk cycle or one crawl in a crawl cycle, if he's crawling across the floor, you might repeat that 10 or 20 times or 4 or 5 times, whatever it takes to complete the action that you want to do in your animation. So let's the next thing is to see how that is done. Now if you go back over to the action editor, where we've got the action editor open, and change this to the NLA, non-linear animation editor, and you see in there it says action, and at the moment the action that we've created is just taking the default name of action. In actual fact, it would be a lot better, wouldn't it, if we had a more logical name for that, because at the moment just being called action, you know, if you did another one it would be called probably action 001. So go back to the action editor, and in here you'll see that that's where the name is, the action name. So we can change this to walk. It's our walk cycle. with your mouse over the walk action, if you now do Control C, you can actually get a pop up there saying convert it to convert to an NLA strip, which is what we want to do. So the action has been converted then, as you'll see. If you do Control C, the action is converted to an NLA strip. Now this is very important to understand, because we've still got, if you look at the symbol at the top where it says armature, which is what armature is called, it still shows the action icon there. When you click on that, it changes to the NLA icon. If you click on it, it toggles. Now that's very important, because that tells the software what you want to actually process. Do you want to process this as an NLA strip, or do you want to process it just as the individual action? Well, if you want to do it as the action, which we do in this case, obviously you have that set to NLA button. Now if you press N with the NLA strip highlighted, the walk strip highlighted, you get this window come up, and here's where you have various settings, where you set up various settings to do with the NLA strip. And the important ones are going to be, there's various options in there, but it shows the strip start and end and the action start and end, which at the moment are the same. Our whole non-linear animation strip is 7 frames and the action is 7 frames. So if you actually change the number of actions and repeat the repeat button there, change it to 2, you'll notice that it squeezes in still to the 7 frames. So if we're going to put the repeat onto 2, we need to put the strip end to 14. Or, yeah, to double it up. So then what we can do is, okay, we're going to have that action repeat 4 times. So our strip, if we're going to keep the speed the same, needs to be on 28. It starts to make sense when you start doing it. We'll take a look at that. So if at the moment we've only got our animation is now going to be 28 frames long, although we've only actually keyed a little 7 frame block, haven't we? But we're repeating that. We're going to repeat that 4 times. So if we now change our change the end of what would render the actual animation setting to 28 frames, it won't be instantly obvious because it looked the same as when it was cycling around 7. But if you look at the set the animation going, doing Control A and have a look, it then goes up to 28 frames and it continues to cycle round. So this is kind of like the basis of doing non-linear animation.